And welcome back. I'm Royal. Again, I'm in for Sam. Sam, continue to get better if you would, my friend. I'm here now with Toni Moore, CEO of Tulsa's Hospitality House, or Hospitality House of Tulsa. Let me get the title right so we don't mess that up starting off the bat. But Toni, thank you for coming by. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about what is Hospitality House, because unlike me, most people, or a lot of people know who you are. There are still guys like me out there in the weeds who don't.
Sure. Hospitality House is a Christian faith-based nonprofit, and we provide lodging, meals, prayer support, transportation assistance, and much more for family members of hospitalized patients and outpatients that have to travel into our Tulsa hospitals.
So why did you decide to do this?
Well, this is actually a calling on my life.
Okay.
I would love to tell you it started just when we opened Hospitality House 15 years ago, but it goes back much further.
Great idea, great business venture, let's go.
No, actually it started because I was one of those families that was introduced to medical crisis and having to travel for it.
Oh.
My family's from Sayre, Oklahoma, in far western Oklahoma, and my dad was the high school football coach, but when I was 17, my mom was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer, and that would cause she and my dad to have to travel 2 hours to Oklahoma City for inpatient chemotherapy and radiation. And it was an 18-month period of treatments where she would be in the hospital for 6 days, at home for 6 weeks. And we had 3 teenagers in the home. So it really was a community that came together to support my family during that medical crisis. And then later, after I had gone to college, I met this great guy, and we dated and got married. And 6 weeks after our wedding, he had an accident on the job and had to be hospitalized away from home for 2 weeks. So I was the one experiencing sleeping in the waiting room chairs, going into debt, staying at hotels, eating out of the vending machines, and being away from home. And so out of those 2 experiences, I just kind of had a good reference of what people had to go through. But then after our college, my career path took me in hospital healthcare administration. And I did that for 15 years of my career.
So you have a really good understanding as a experiential understanding on both sides of the dime.
Yes, sure do. And then in 1999, we moved to Broken Arrow. And about a year and a half after we moved, a friend of mine from church asked me to come speak to her ladies' Bible study about how to be more open and friendly to people that come into our community. And I started studying biblical hospitality. And I ran
From that conversation?
Yeah. So I thought, instead of me talking about what should we do, I probably should see what God's Word had to say about what we should do.
Okay.
So I find that's where the wisdom actually comes from. So I ran across Romans 12:13. It says, share with God's people in need, practice hospitality. And I thought I knew what that word meant because I watch Home and Garden television. But I figured there's more to it than what I was limited in my knowledge.
I didn't know that was a Christian network, but that's all right.
Yeah. So I looked up the Greek word that's used for hospitality, and the Greek word there is philoxenia. Philos means brotherly love, and xenia means stranger. And I then had a kind of culture moment, because our culture teaches us stranger danger.
Yeah.
Don't talk to strangers.
Safe place.
Yeah, don't take things from strangers. So then I had to say, okay, well, what does God have to say about strangers? So I did a word study on that. Come to find out, he has a lot to say about how we welcome strangers. And Exodus 23:9 is one of those examples. And then Christ himself in Matthew 25, he says, I will separate those on my right and left as the king, and I will turn to those on my right and say, enter into my kingdom, those of you who are righteous. And then he gives examples of how our faith and our works match up. And he said, I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. Sick, and you cared for me. And in prison, you came to visit me. And they said, Lord, we don't remember doing these things for you. And he said, when you've done it unto the least of these, then you've done it unto me. And when I caught that moment of understanding that hospitality is not something that we can schedule on our Outlook calendars or save up for mission trips, these are opportunities that come across our path every day. And when we respond in that moment, it's a true heart attitude of our relationship to Christ. And out of that, really just study, a 2-year study of biblical hospitality is what I was doing for myself, just to have understanding. God gave me the vision for Hospitality House.
So you took that connection, and then you had to put it in practice. So where was the next step to start building this nonprofit of actually having a space for people to come to?
Yeah, so the first step is actually to be obedient to say yes to do it.
Right.
So that was a 6-month process for me.
So you're one of those fish on the hook to fight, right?
I am. So when it actually happened, I said, okay, let's go ahead and form the 501c3. We did that in November of 2004.
Right.
And then we launched into a patient feasibility study. We wanted to know how many patients and families were traveling into Tulsa that would need a hospitality house. And so we did a patient feasibility study with all the hospitals, and it showed there was over 25,000 patients a year that travel from at least 50 miles up to 800 miles away into Tulsa specifically for medical care.
And I bet you that number more than doubled when COVID hit.
Yes, in some respects it did.
Oh, man.
So we knew we had a huge need on our hands, and based on that outcome statistic, we knew that half of the 25,000, were Medicare, Medicaid, or uninsured families. So if you want to say they can just stay in a hotel, they really can't afford to stay in a hotel.
Which really talks to our rural population.
Exactly, and the majority of who we serve are coming from rural Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you talk about is this lodgingly. Mm-hmm. Explain what that is. That's a new program you got going on.
It is. So we've been open 15 years in 2 buildings running Hospitality House program, and those buildings are donated to us by Hillcrest Medical Center for $1 a year lease donation. But sadly, we don't have enough room, and we have a waiting list that averages about 10 families every day, and we're full every night. So we know that 15% of our guests tell us that they could afford to stay in a hotel, but they chose to stay with us because of close proximity to the hospital and the amenities we provide. So we've opened a new program, Lodgingly, which puts Hospitality House inside hotels near hospitals.
So, okay, so let me get this picture correct. Are you serving primarily the patients that are at Hillcrest?
We actually serve all Tulsa hospitals.
Really?
And all outpatient centers for cancer treatments, organ transplant patients.
So even though you're located near Hillcrest down at 15th and
12th and Utica.
12th and Utica. Mm-hmm. But you're wanting to also expand, right?
Yes, we desperately need to expand, and Lodgingly will help.
Especially if you're serving all the hospitals.
Yes, and Lodgingly will help us. So providing hotel rooms near hospitals.
Okay.
At discounted rates.
Okay.
We have a website, it's lodgingly.com, and if people are looking for discounts to stay at hotels during a medical situation, it can be inpatient, outpatient, elective, or emergency, either way. They can log on, they can call their doctor or their hospital and get a unique referral code to enter in, and that leads them to the discounted rate, as well as restaurant discounts. So we have a group of local restaurants that give discounts to our Lodgingly guests, and transportation assistance if they need it while in town. And then if they can't leave home without their dog, we have a pet boarding partner.
I have a daughter who is that way. Those dogs are like their kids.
That's right. So we have a pet boarding partner in case they need to bring the dog and board it while they're having treatment.
So you've been around for 15 years. You're having to expand now that you've had a lot of success. Yeah. So how can we help you get the word out, to help you get the funding you need to expand? Because folks, this is a big project. It's a great program. Ronald McDonald House isn't open any longer. Is that correct?
No, they are open. They had to temporarily close during COVID.
Okay.
But they are open. They do a wonderful job caring for pediatric patient families.
But that's a segment.
That is a small segment. And we serve adult and pediatric patients as well as inpatients. Okay. And so, the majority of beds in our Tulsa hospitals are actually adult beds.
So you're helping, doesn't matter what segment is coming to the hospital for services.
Right.
You're going to help the whole family.
That's right.
So to my audience out there who watch RSU TV, how can we help you expand, get the funding you need so you can do what you got to do?
I think first thing is if you go to our website, which is hhtulsa.org, you'll see we have lots of volunteer opportunities. So church groups, Bible study groups, corporation groups can come and do a Meals of Love program, which you prepare and deliver a meal to the guests that are staying in Hospitality House. It's a huge help. We've got prayer partners that pray from home, and you can sign up to be on our prayer team. You will get prayer requests from guests, and you can respond to them via email or handwritten note. We've got lots of opportunities for people just to engage in helping us with events, serving on committees, maybe even a board member out there that's looking to serve in a leadership role. We have that opportunity. But, you know, to give and to help, if there's churches out there that are looking for great mission projects, we love to connect with those, and we'd love to, to give you the numbers and how many people you're serving and the stories of families and how that helps. And then we've got a lot of individual donors. We are funded actually through individual donors, private family foundations, corporate sponsorships, and churches. And so if you're an individual looking to invest in a ministry that you know is doing the hands and feet of Jesus Christ work, it is happening at a Hospitality House. So become a monthly donor through our Carekeepers program, or a one-time donor would be a huge help. And if you're a corporation and you're looking for a place to sponsor and you want to get, you don't want to do an event, but you want to make an impact, you can sponsor one of our family suites. It's a $5,000 annual adoption, and it will serve about 25 families during a year. Makes a huge impact for guests.
Well, you are having some serious impact because you were recently voted one of the most high-level CEOs in the community from Journal Record.
Yeah.
So you're having serious impact in the community. How has the hospitals responded? Now we know what Hillcrest is doing. They're giving you a building.
Yes.
But what are the other CEOs saying? Because
well,
these guys are...
Yeah, they love our program, and
Good.
Here's why. Especially when COVID hit. No longer can family members sleep in waiting rooms.
Right.
So without Hospitality House, the only option if they can't afford a hotel is they're sleeping in their car, or maybe even worse, they're not here with their patient. And that has a tremendous impact on the patient's health when they don't have the support of their caregiver.
Had experience with that with my daughter, who had a car hit her sitting at a park bench.
Oh,
goes to St. Francis. Her husband can't get in to see her. He sneaks in.
Yeah.
And next day gets caught.
Yeah.
They say, you got to leave. So he sneaks back in.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's the only way he could get in there to be with her, or he slept in the car, even
Yeah.
though they live in Broken Arrow.
Right.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So I get what you're talking about. I totally get it. Well, folks, if you're looking to help, here's how you can help. We're going to put contact information on the website up on the screen for you, and so you can reach out to this great ministry who needs your help because they're expanding, and they really do need to connect with folks. So if you are, it's Christmas. If you're in the giving spirit, now's the time to give. If not, and you want to start next year, you can always reach out to Toni and get connected that way, right?
That's right.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by, and I'm glad we can help you in any way we can.
Thank you.
Getting
We
the word
really
out.
appreciate it. Our families really appreciate it.
You betcha. Well, that's it for this edition of Perspectives. I'm in for Sam. I'm Royal. Sam, get well. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye, everybody.